As I've told you already during the opening session, next year's conference is going to be in Haifa, and I now call on Rachelle Alterman to tell us a little bit about her plans for the 2014 conference in Haifa. Okay.
Well, thank you, EXCO and everybody for selecting the technology Israel for next year's conference. I have a very small PowerPoint presentation. We are proposing a slightly new format, but it is, what was the title of the previous lecture, Lee's lecture?
Optional plan.
Indeed. It is an optional program in the sense that it will have the usual 3-day paper-giving, university-based program, but we will also offer something that some organizations call a working week. That will be elective, and that means that we will offer the participants the opportunity of sitting on real topics in real sites with real decision makers and NGOs as selected from a set of topics. Here are some topics that I've put down, and I think at some point we will have a web-based survey of who wants some of these topics. Israel is extremely interesting in instruments of planning, challenges of planning, some geopolitical challenges that you see on CNN, but in fact their domestic life is very challenging for planning on a day-to-day basis. Being a planning professor in Israel, being a legal expert in Israel, planning is like living 7 lives in one life because everything is so intensive and so quick. So I put up a few topics. We have a new planning and building law. The existing law, in fact, is based way back on a 36 British marriage law. The new law is very controversial. In fact, it got stalled because it proposes a little bit of decentralization in a highly centralized system, which on its face looks like a planner's paradise. It looks something like Oregonians would want, but when it's overdone, like a lot of things, then it collapses. And I think the decision makers, including parliament members, would love a working group on that from our international experts. Another topic is affordable housing in a very high density country where most of the housing is condominiums, but by the way, not in the American sense of condominiums, because in the US sense, beyond the legal format, condos are high income housing. We're talking about condos, everybody including low income people. So affordable housing and condos is a big thing. Rental issues are a big thing in a very high density and the highest growth country in the West, highest national growth country in the West. Urban regeneration, I mentioned that. Challenges of open space and coastline preservation. Yes, it's a very dense country where most of the population lives along the coastline. Huge competition over every bit of land, because much more than in Oregon, despite the statistics that we saw, much more so. Lots of challenges there. Israel's unique public land and leasehold regimes. We had a little bit of an appetizer here in one session. The Israel Lands Authority, I'm not sure would love it that much, but we'll have a meeting with them because you see how now the West's only national land system, where 93% of the land is nationally owned, works and doesn't work. There are the others that exist are only in other countries like Canberra, so but not a national system. And it is now being changed, and I think that a think tank on that with the decision makers would be interesting. The ethnic traditional property regime in Israel's Arab sector, I'm talking about Israel's, 22% of Israel's population, and not of the West Bank or the Gaza Strip, are Israeli Arabs, with a traditional land regime that often collides with the regulatory modern regime. Makes a very interesting case to go and sit there and talk to the regulators and the clients. And the kibbutz movement, what many of you love to love, I also love to love, but it is changing very fast, and go see how it's changing, because soon it might not be there anymore for you to send your kids to volunteer in. So that's a big challenge. We have, you know, Miki Drori, my PhD student, is the lawyer for the kibbutz movement. Where's your hand? And I'm sure that they would love to hear some, but they're not the ones who, it's government that's the problem, as usual. And the venue, Haifa is, some people call it the San Francisco of the Middle East. It's part of Israel's European part. The north of Israel is European, south of Israel is Africa or Desert Middle East. Some pictures from the web. Haifa is proud to host the Baha'i Center, you know, the Baha'i religion, and there are very important, lovely elements in the, from the mountain to the sea with famous hanging gardens, beautiful spot. The Technion campus is a green campus, and I think the best promoter of Haifa is Ben Davy, who fell in love with Haifa. If you want to know anything about Haifa, ask Ben and Uli, his wife. The Technion campus is a green campus. Green in Israel, not to be taken for granted. We are in a desert country. So green is
very green.
Yeah, it is a very green campus, because Haifa, as I said, is the European climate, or Southern European climate. Campus, our building is to your right. So we are right at the heart of the campus. This is not your summer day, as we saw in those pictures. This is a normal day, and if we do have our conference in the second week of February, there is good likelihood that there'll be a lot of sunshine, because we have 20-odd rain days a year, on the average. This is our building, the planning building on the green. And that's it. Questions? I know you want to ask about security. Ask about security?
What about security?
What about
Well, you have me to stand behind you. No, but really, I mean, since you're not going to live in the CNN box, you're going to live on. You're going to be on the ground. First of all, statistics on general safety, including people, civilians hit in violent attacks. Well, civilians hit in violent attacks, or anybody in Israel, is the average of 17 people a year over the past 5 years. So you're not living in the CNN box. And traffic accidents are 330. So you get the numbers. General safety, along with that, we are 50% better than the US. So I'm not saying that, but it's quite reasonable. In terms of risks, I know Thomas asked me. I think if there is a flare-up in the Middle East, we usually know in advance, and I think the most relevant image is like the hurricanes of this country, in the sense that you know it's coming, and then conferences get postponed. But the likelihood is not very high. We have millions of tourists a year, and you will be, I hope, among them. More questions? The date choice, the second week in February, is that a decision? Okay, we haven't decided which days of the week, especially because of this optional format of the workshops. 3 days of work, maybe 2 days of workshops. And we haven't yet decided how to do that per week. Anybody with comments, wishes, questions? Yes? You have a question there.
The topics of the workshop are already closed, or
do you expect to include more in the future?
Or is there a theme? Is there a theme for it?
What?
The topics of the workshop. So this,
The list that I have?
yeah,
You want other topics or?
I didn't see anything related to agricultural land.
Okay, well, the kibbutz is agriculture. We could add that, but we thought that seeing the attendance in the agriculture session here and generally in agriculture PLPR, there was little, but when you talk about open space and you talk about the kibbutz between the two, then we have agriculture. But if there's people interested, yes. Yes.
I think it could be very interesting.
Okay,
to
good
have a look
idea.
at it.
Yes, Israel agriculture is number one, number two in terms of efficiency per square meter of growth, very high technology, so on. Yes, but many land challenges and the challenges. High court decision against the minimal property rights of the kibbutz. That's the bottom line, people. Be very interesting to see. Yes.
Well, maybe to make an obvious point, but also to acknowledge the great work of the organizers this year. It'll be really important to, again, stick to, the themes of our organization, to keep what we've been doing, and this looks great, and to maintain the high rigor of the peer review process. I think that's great. And the other point that I want to emphasize is the need to advertise as aggressively as possible and as soon as possible. I know there are now pressures from competing organizations that deal with local government, property law, and things like that. And I think it's really important to drive our message in all the blogs that we can on LSN and SSRN.
You will help.
I will absolutely help. And I think what we saw this year was the importance also of LSN and SSRN and bringing in the legal academics, which have really contributed to a good mix this year.
It did. We had a 50-50. The hands up last night showed that we have.
That was very
Fantastic.
impressive
Very
to see that. Yes.
And that's really what we would like to have, I think, in the organization. Yes.
But also, I think that,
John, would you mind stepping up to the microphone? It's a bit, but I think it's better for everyone to hear.
I think one of the experiences we've seen out of Ed's work is that they produced a single-page flyer very early. I was only, I think, about a month or two afterwards, even earlier. That was so useful because getting around to all of the people in the Pacific Rim was really useful because it's an easy attachment and it just doesn't have to be anything. I mean, what you've done there is great. And if you can be that on one page, that's excellent. And we need that out. From my perspective, it'd be good to get it out to all of our people, say, within the next month.
Thank you. More ideas, comments, suggestions, concerns? If the Middle East blows up without notice, then I'm afraid it will probably be so general that it doesn't blow up like that. So don't worry. Take it from me.
So thank you very much for your presentation and invitation. This is the moment when the flag that was displayed so wonderfully here with these black ribbons. It really had a workshop atmosphere. The flag that was coming down during one of the presentations, in fact, is handed over by the local hosts of the wonderful, excessively beautiful Portland local host committee to the local host of next year. Rachelle, you should not run away now. Oh, right. I think that, okay. Then.
Okay, that's enough. Yeah, we got the kibbutz movement. They're only 2% of the population.
Very good.
They're important.
We'll put many hands together.
Technion, one of the Technion students designed it.
Oh,
Way
nice.
back.
Very well, Michel.
Huh?
Michel.
No,
No?
no, it wasn't Michel. No. A real architect designer.
So now we
Thank you.
wait, we need to take all these photographs.
Hey,
No, actually, no.
oh, come on,
Okay.
come on.
Well
You
then,
better help me.
Thomas, Fanny, please.
Yes. Now we will.
Yes.
You just have to squish up a bit.
Yes.
all right.
John, Dick,
Yes,
Come.
please, our regional,
Come on,
Exactly.
Pacific and North America. And to all ones, I mean, can I stand on my tiptoes?
Some of you might have to go behind.
We'll turn sideways and put one leg out. Okay.
Start dancing.
Now do
So,
weird stuff.
actually, there are two
First one.
people really missing. Greg, you are on Exco still.
No, I just fell off.
You did.
Just fell
Yeah, I
out.
just fell off.
Oh, so sad.
So you fell off.
Did you revolt off?
Yeah, I think it's a fuzzy case. Yeah.
He prefers to
Und nicht, hoch das Klettchen müssen nicht ganz
Okay, we done?
How many more?
I'm feeling like Obama right now. Just put those cameras away.
Okay, great. Okay, you have to.
She's running for president, so.
Yeah, I know. Shouldn't there be something more ceremonial about this with music?
Yeah.
Oh.
Can you do like certain angles?
Has a certain flag.
That's how I fold my sheets. Yeah, photo.
He wants another one.
Okay, I like being tall in your shapes. Alright.
Thank you.
Okay.
We do not have any elections this year. So basically, we now can take some time to reflect.